Hi there! Well, today I wanted to bring you a Beyond Beauty video. I haven't made one of these in quite a while, but there was something on my mind in the last couple of weeks that I thought might be a good topic to discuss and sort of share with you my philosophy and some different tips. So I wanted to talk to you today about motivation. I think motivation can be one of those things that can be very difficult to find sometimes. Sometimes we have tasks that just seem maybe very tedious, maybe they are intimidating or they seem overwhelming in some way. And I think that we're all sometimes struggling to find that motivation. And I tend to look at these things a little bit differently. I find that I do not wait for motivation. I think with some of the things that we need to get done from time to time, that motivation is never going to come. So the way that I go about it is I get started to get motivated. I find that if I see results, I tend to get the motivation rather than waiting to be motivated to then get results. So to me, it's very opposite. So I want to give you a couple of examples of things that I needed to get done that were never, the motivation for these was never going to come, so I just had to get started. So the first thing that I needed to do was do a really big clean out of my refrigerator. I had some containers of leftovers that needed to be put in the dishwasher. The food needed to be gotten rid of. I had some just expired containers, different things I needed to go through and get that done. I also needed to wipe down and clean all the shelves, the sides, you know, the plastic and things in the interior. So it was just something that wasn't an emergency, but it really did need to be done, and I really wasn't looking forward to it. The other thing that I had to get done was some weeding in my front and backyard. We've been getting a ton of rain lately and everything is just growing like crazy, or like weeds, I guess I should say. And it wasn't out of hand, but I knew it was one of those things that could very easily get out of hand, so I needed to go ahead and get started on that. So these are both things that I just don't necessarily enjoy. Sometimes I like doing yard work if the weather's a little bit cooler. I really like being outside, but right now it's still very much hot and very much humid, and I really just was not looking forward to the task. So there are a couple of things that I do when I have tasks like this that I don't really want to get done, things that I might find very overwhelming or just tedious. The first thing that I do is set a small goal. So let me give you some examples of that. With regards to doing the weeding in my front and backyard, I went into my kitchen and I got one of those plastic grocery bags, and I said, I'm just going to fill this bag. So whatever I can do to fill that bag, that's all I'm going to concentrate on for right now. So I went out into my front yard and I just started pulling weeds and putting them in my bag, and pretty quickly I started filling it up. But then once I'm already out there in the yard, maybe I'm already hot and sweaty, I'm already getting dirty, I'm already doing it, I'm thinking, well, I'll just fill a few more weeds. Well, maybe I'll just grab another bag and do a little bit more. Well, I'm already out here, so what does it hurt? And I find that I really start to get the motivation the longer that I'm out there. And then before I know it, the task is done. It really hasn't taken me that long. Maybe I'm out in the yard for just a half hour and all that weeding's done and now it's behind me, and I really feel such a sense of accomplishment. But because I set the small goal, even if I had just accomplished filling that one bag of weeds, I would have met my goal for that day, which probably would have given me motivation to go back out the second time and fill a second bag. I think if you set yourself up for failure, if you say, well, I'm going to go out today and I am going to landscape my entire yard, I'm going to get everything done, then if you get too tired or you run out of supplies or that it starts to rain or whatever the case might be, that can be a little bit defeating. You sort of set yourself up for failure. Maybe you set a goal that really wasn't attainable, and if you had set one smaller goal or several smaller goals, you might have been able to achieve that and given yourself a little bit more motivation. So the second thing I do, and I know this sounds easier said than done, is just whatever the task is, get started. Don't wait for motivation. Don't wait for the mood to strike. I find it very hard to believe that there's ever going to be a day where I'm going to wake up and say, all I want to do today is clean out my refrigerator. All I want to do is pull all the weeds in my yard. That's probably not going to happen. These aren't things that I really ever look forward to doing. They're not things I really enjoy. So I know that I just have to force myself to get started. So if I put on my shoes and go outside and force myself to get started with a small goal in mind, I find it a lot easier to get these things done. And what I have found to be true for myself in the past is very often when I get these tasks started, it's not that much more effort to just do one more thing and then one more thing. And then before I know it, the whole task is done, it's behind me, and I don't have to think about it again for a really long time. In my experience, my greatest motivation has come from seeing results. So whatever your project is, whatever you'd like to achieve, go ahead and set some small goals and then just get started and see if that motivation doesn't start to come to you a little bit more easily. So maybe you want to start an exercise program. Just go out for a short walk. Just go around the block, or just say I'm going to walk to the end of my street and back home again. See if you don't feel a little bit better after that walk, and then you may find yourself wanting to go for a walk the next night, and then maybe another night after that, and then you're going to start to feel a little bit better, and then maybe look forward to those walks, and then before you know it, you're on a regular exercise routine, and you feel better at this point, and you've got that motivation to continue long term. I do want to touch on briefly the role that depression or other physical ailments can play on your motivation. I don't want to minimize that in any way or say that it's just as simple as setting a few goals and getting started. I know that sometimes there are other factors at play, and so if that is something that you find yourself struggling with, if you really have a long-term or chronic lack of motivation, that might be something important to discuss with either your doctor or a trusted friend or member of the clergy, someone that you trust, that you feel like you can really discuss that with. I know it's not always just as simple as saying, well, just get started, just set a few goals. So I did want to just sort of touch on that briefly. So I hope this video was helpful to you today. These are just a couple of the ways that I try to set myself up for success rather than failure when I am faced with some of these large and overwhelming tasks. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you very soon. Bye-bye.